Okay, so picture this. A whole generation of terrorists, nihilists, who believe in nothing but, just burning it all down. Now, what if I told you their ideological father, the man whose ideas started it all, wasn't some monster? What if he was a gentle, kind of ridiculous, and totally harmless old guy who just loved poetry? Well, that's the story we're getting into today. The idealist who birthed demons.
I mean, that's the big, terrifying question here, right? What happens when good intentions create actual monsters? How does a lifetime of talking about beautiful, noble ideas somehow lead to a movement of pure destruction? It's a paradox, and it's right at the heart of this whole thing.
So yeah, these are the monsters of the story. We're talking about a group of young radicals. They take all these abstract, lofty ideals they've been fed their whole lives, and they just twist them. They turn them into a justification for violence, for chaos. They are the terrifying effect. But the cause? Oh, the cause is, well, it's a lot more complicated.
And this is the central irony, the real twist. The father of this whole demonic movement, he's not a monster himself, not at all. He's this gentle, super theatrical dreamer named Stepan Trofimovich. I mean, the guy preached about beauty and freedom his entire life, only to watch his own son, Pyotr, take those exact words and turn them into a blueprint for terror. So you gotta ask, how on earth did that happen? All right, so let's get a picture of this man, Stepan. He's 53, but honestly, he carries himself like this aging relic from a totally bygone romantic era. He's obsessed with his looks, his soft hands, his eloquent phrases. You get the idea. He's basically a professional idealist, a guy who spent his entire adult life talking about grand ideas while living very comfortably off a rich widow's money. He's kind of like a beautiful, but also heartbreaking fossil.
So get this. When someone finally confronts him with the violent consequences of his ideas, what does he do? This is his actual reaction. He exclaims in French, "But I'm just a simple critic." I mean, come on. It just perfectly captures his complete and utter shock, his total disconnect from the bloody reality his words helped create. He genuinely, truly cannot see the connection.
Okay, let's break this guy down. To really understand how Stepan's idealism went so wrong, we kind of have to perform an autopsy on his character. We need to see how his mind and his heart worked, or, maybe more accurately, how they failed to work.
When it comes to his mind, Stepan is a total paradox. He is incredibly well-read. The guy can quote German poets for hours and move you to tears. But his intelligence is purely decorative. It's like a museum full of these beautiful, priceless artifacts that have absolutely no practical use. He can talk for days about humanity in the abstract, but he can't balance a simple household budget or, notice that his own son is a walking, talking catastrophe in the making.
And his heart, emotionally? Oh, he's even less mature. He's basically a child trapped in a 53-year-old's body. He craves attention like a toddler. He's always performing for an audience. He even interprets the constant scolding from his rich patroness as a form of love, just because it keeps him at the center of her world. The only time he seems to feel something truly genuine is right at the very end of his life, and it's a simple, humble love that is completely out of character for the man we've come to know.
This isn't just some random character flaw. Stepan is actually a textbook example of a famous Russian literary archetype. They called him the superfluous man, and it's just what it sounds like, a talented, educated guy who's totally disconnected from his own society and can't find any real purpose for his gifts. Stepan embodies this tragic figure perfectly.
Okay, so now we get to the really critical part. This is where the tragedy really takes shape. Let's connect the dots between this guy's, his charming flaws, and the deadly actions of his ideological children.
And this is pretty much the roadmap for how it all goes wrong. See, Stepan spends his life planting these seeds, these beautiful abstract ideas like beauty and humanity. But for him, they're just words. They're totally disconnected from any real moral roots or sense of responsibility. So of course, they grow wild. Then the next generation, his son's generation, they come along, they find these unrooted ideals just lying around, and they have no trouble at all twisting them into a nihilistic creed that can justify, anything, including murder. So, eventually, it all comes crashing down. Stripped of his home, his money, all his illusions, Stepan does something he has literally never done before in his life. He walks out into the real world. This final chapter of his life is this pilgrimage, where the man who lived in a world of words is finally forced to meet reality head-on.
I mean, just think about the contrast here. His entire life was one long performance in a comfortable drawing room. But his final days? They're spent on foot, wandering across the vast Russian countryside, looking absolutely ridiculous in his fancy clothes. His whole journey feels like this tragicomic funeral procession for the dream that lofty European ideas could somehow save Russia's soul. And in the end, he doesn't die in some grand lecture hall, he dies in a humble peasant hut.
And it's there, on his deathbed, that he makes this absolutely stunning confession. It's really the cry of an entire generation of thinkers who mistook making beautiful speeches for actually having a conscience. For his whole life, his truth was just rhetoric. It was all a performance. It's only now, facing death with absolutely nothing left, that he finds a truth that isn't for an audience. And you know what? His redemption isn't some big, heroic act. It's the complete opposite. He becomes small. He becomes frightened. And finally, he becomes deeply, truly human. In his last moments, he just whispers in French to his son, "Mon fils, pardon." My son, forgive me. It's this quiet, devastating admission of his failure. Not as a thinker, not as an idealist, but as a father.
So you might be wondering, why are we digging into this character from a 19th century novel? Well, it's because Stepan Trofimych isn't just some historical artifact. He's a timeless warning. He's an archetype that if you look closely, you can still see all around us today.
Now really, think about it. He is that professor who's horrified to discover his students have twisted his theories into weapons. He is the boomer who cheered on the revolution in theory, only to see its brutal reality start to devour his own grandchildren. He is that gentle soul who can talk so beautifully about humanity, but can't seem to look a single, real, messy human being in the eye. Stepan's ghost, it's all around us.
And in the end, that's what separates him from the true monsters he helped create. They're just empty. But Stepan, for all his flaws, all his vanity and foolishness, he still has this little flicker of something human left inside. He is the only demon who repents because he is the only one who still remembers what it felt like to have a soul. And that is a pretty sobering thought to leave you with.